Welcome to this exploration of one of England's most iconic fortresses, Warwick Castle. As we delve into its rich history and architectural marvels, we'll uncover the stories of power, intrigue, and transformation that have shaped this magnificent structure over nearly a millennium. I've always been fascinated by the way castles like Warwick serve as tangible links to our past, allowing us to literally walk in the footsteps of kings, earls, and common folk alike. So let's begin our journey through time, starting with the castle's Norman origins and tracing its evolution into the grand tourist attraction it is today. Warwick Castle's story begins in 1068, when William the Conqueror ordered the construction of a wooden motte and bailey fortification on the site of an Anglo-Saxon burh. This early castle was part of William's strategy to secure his newly won kingdom, establishing a network of strongholds across England. It's worth noting that the motte, or raised earthwork that we see today, often called Ethelfleda's Mound, is actually part of the later Norman fortifications, not the original Anglo-Saxon defences as some might assume. This misconception highlights the complex layering of history at sites like Warwick, where successive generations have left their mark on the landscape. The transition from wood to stone marked a significant chapter in Warwick Castle's history. During the reign of Henry II in the 12th century, the original wooden structures were replaced with more permanent stone fortifications. This transformation wasn't unique to Warwick. It was part of a broader trend across England as Norman lords sought to strengthen their holds and display their power through impressive stone castles. The stone keep that replaced the wooden one would have been a formidable sight, rising above the surrounding countryside and serving as a potent symbol of Norman authority. The dungeon now in ruin standeth in the west-northwest part of the castle. There is also a tower west-northwest, and through it a postern gate of iron. All the principal lodgings of the castle with the hall and chapel lie on the south side of the castle, and here the king doth much cost in making foundations in the rocks to sustain that side of the castle, for great pieces fell out of the rocks that sustain it. The castle's defences were significantly enhanced in the 14th century under Thomas de Beauchamp, the 11th Earl of Warwick. This period saw the addition of the imposing Caesars and Guy's towers, as well as the gatehouse and barbican. These new structures weren't just functional, they were designed to impress and intimidate. The towers, for instance, feature intricate stone vaulting on every story and machicolations, openings through which defenders could drop objects on attackers below. It's fascinating to consider the dual purpose of these architectural elements: practical defence and symbolic display of power. The gatehouse, with its murder holes, drawbridges and portcullises, would have presented a formidable obstacle to any would-be attacker. One particularly intriguing feature of Caesar's Tower is its basement dungeon. Local legend, dating back to at least 1644, suggests it's also known as Poitiers Tower. This name supposedly derives either from its use as a prison for captives from the Battle of Poitiers in 1356, or because ransoms from that battle helped fund its construction. While we can't be certain of the truth behind these stories, they add a layer of mystique to the castle's history and remind us of the close links between military campaigns and castle building in medieval England. Warwick Castle played a significant role in some of England's most tumultuous periods, including the Wars of the Roses. In 1469, we find the castle at the centre of a power struggle when Richard Neville, the Kingmaker, rebelled against King Edward IV and imprisoned him within these very walls. It's remarkable to think of these stone rooms bearing witness to such pivotal moments in English history. Neville's attempt to rule in the king's name was short-lived, however, as growing protests from the king's supporters forced him to release Edward. This episode underscores the castle's importance not just as a military stronghold, but as a political chess piece in the complex game of medieval power politics. The castle's defences were put to the test again during the English Civil War. In 1642, Warwick Castle found itself besieged by royalist forces. The castle was held for Parliament under the command of Sir Edward Peyto, while the royalist forces were led by Spencer Compton, the second Earl of Northampton. It's fascinating to consider how the medieval fortifications designed centuries earlier still played a crucial role in 17th century warfare. The siege was ultimately unsuccessful, with the royalist cannons proving ineffective against the castle's sturdy walls. This episode highlights the enduring strategic importance of castles like Warwick, even as warfare evolved with the introduction of gunpowder weapons. Our endeavours for taking it were to little purpose, for we had only 2 small pieces of cannon which were brought from Compton House, belonging to the Earl of Northampton, and those were drawn up to the top of the church steeple and were discharged at the castle, to which they could do no hurt, but only frightened them within the castle, who shot into the street and killed several of our men. In the aftermath of the Civil War, we see Warwick Castle transitioning from a military stronghold to a country house. This shift reflects broader changes in English society and the declining military relevance of castles. Fulk Greville, who was granted the castle by King James I in 1604, spent over £20,000 renovating the castle. That's equivalent to about £5 million today, a staggering sum that gives us an idea of the scale of the transformation. Greville's renovations turned Warwick into a place of great strength but extraordinary delight, according to the 17th century antiquary William Dugdale. This description captures the dual nature of Warwick Castle at this time, still imposing and defensible, but increasingly focused on comfort and aesthetic appeal. The 18th century saw Warwick Castle undergo a dramatic transformation, as successive Earls of Warwick sought to turn the medieval fortress into a fashionable stately home. Francis Greville, who became the 8th Baron Brooke in 1746 and was later created Earl of Warwick, was particularly influential in this process. He commissioned some of the leading architects and landscape designers of the day to modernise the castle and its grounds. One of the most significant changes was the landscaping of the castle grounds by Lancelot Capability Brown, starting in 1749. Brown's work at Warwick is a prime example of the English landscape garden style that was revolutionising estate design across the country. The castle is enchanting. The view pleased me more than I can express. The River Avon tumbled down a cascade at the foot of it. It is well laid out by one Brown who has set up on a few ideas of Kent and Mr. Southcote. Brown's approach at Warwick was to simplify the landscape, creating a more natural connection between the castle and the River Avon. He swept away the formal gardens of earlier periods, replacing them with expansive lawns that rolled right down to the riverbank. These lawns were framed by carefully placed clumps of native trees, creating picturesque views that seemed effortlessly natural, but were, in fact, meticulously planned. Brown also created a serpentine drive that gave visitors a carefully choreographed approach to the castle, gradually revealing its impressive facade. This kind of landscape design was not just about aesthetics, it was a powerful statement of the owner's taste, wealth, and control over nature itself. Inside the castle, the Grevilles embarked on an extensive programme of modernisation. The Great Hall and staterooms were redecorated in the latest Georgian styles, with elaborate plasterwork, fine furniture, and impressive collections of art and antiquities. One of the most notable additions was the Warwick vase, a massive Roman marble vase that the second Earl of Warwick had purchased in Italy. A new conservatory was built specifically to house this impressive artefact. These changes reflect the shifting role of castles like Warwick in the 18th century. No longer primarily defensive structures, they were becoming showcases of their owners' wealth, taste, and connections to classical antiquity. The 19th and early 20th centuries saw Warwick Castle continue its evolution, now increasingly opening its doors to visitors. The Earls of Warwick, while still residing in the castle, began to recognise its potential as a tourist attraction. By 1900, the castle had a ticket office and a permanent guide. This shift towards tourism wasn't always smooth. In 1885, the 4th Earl briefly closed the castle to visitors, causing quite a stir in the town. A local report at the time noted that a group of American visitors left their hotel, somewhat hurriedly, in consequence of their being unable to gain admission to the castle. This anecdote gives us a glimpse of the growing international appeal of English heritage sites like Warwick Castle, and the sometimes uneasy balance between private residence and public attraction. These walls have seen something of the splendour of every generation of our English story. Their rooms are rich in treasure beyond the dreams of avarice. Their rooms are open to all who will. A pivotal moment in the castle's recent history came in 1978, when the Greville family, after 374 years of ownership, sold Warwick Castle to the Tussauds Group. This marked the end of the castle's life as a private residence and the beginning of its current incarnation as a major tourist attraction. The sale was not without controversy, causing a public confrontation between the 7th Earl and his son. It's a poignant reminder of the challenges faced by many aristocratic families in the 20th century, struggling to maintain vast historic properties in a changing economic and social landscape. Under corporate ownership, Warwick Castle has been developed into a major heritage attraction, blending historical authenticity with modern entertainment. The Tussauds Group, and later Merlin Entertainments, have invested heavily in restoration work and new attractions. These include historical reenactments, a trebuchet claimed to be the world's largest, and wax figures depicting scenes from the castle's past. While some might argue that this approach risks turning the castle into a theme park, it has undoubtedly brought the site's history to life for millions of visitors. The castle now attracts over 500,000 visitors annually, making it one of Britain's most popular historic attractions. As we consider Warwick Castle's journey from Norman fortress to tourist hotspot, it's clear that its ability to adapt and reinvent itself has been key to its survival and continued relevance. Today, Warwick Castle stands as a testament to nearly a millennium of English history, its stones bearing witness to the ebb and flow of power, the changing nature of warfare, and the evolution of aristocratic life. As a Grade 1 listed building and a scheduled monument, the castle enjoys the highest level of heritage protection. This status recognises not just its architectural significance, but its importance to our understanding of English history. However, this protected status also presents challenges, as any changes or renovations must be carefully balanced with the need to preserve the castle's historical integrity. The castle's current owners and operators face the ongoing challenge of maintaining this vast historic property, while also making it accessible and engaging for modern visitors. This involves a delicate balance between conservation and innovation. For instance, the introduction of seasonal exhibits and events, such as jousting tournaments and falconry displays, aims to bring history to life in an immersive way. However, these must be carefully managed to avoid damaging the historic fabric of the castle or compromising its authenticity. The castle's Dungeons attraction, which uses live actors to recreate grim aspects of medieval life, is another example of this balance, entertaining visitors while also educating them about the harsher realities of the past. Looking to the future, Warwick Castle faces both opportunities and challenges. Climate change, for instance, poses new threats to historic buildings like this, with increased rainfall and extreme weather events potentially accelerating erosion and decay. On the other hand, advances in digital technology offer new ways to engage visitors and share the castle's rich history. Virtual and augmented reality could allow visitors to see the castle as it appeared in different historical periods, or to access areas that are too fragile for regular foot traffic. As we consider Warwick Castle's future, it's clear that its continued relevance will depend on its ability to adapt to these new challenges and opportunities, just as it has adapted to changing times throughout its long history. The castle and the lands associated with the earldom passed down to the Beaumont family until 1242. When Thomas de Beaumont, 6th Earl of Warwick, died, the castle and lands passed to his sister, Margaret de Beaumont, 7th Countess of Warwick in her own right. As we conclude our journey through the history of Warwick Castle, I'm struck by how this single structure encapsulates so much of England's story. From Norman conquest to civil war, from medieval fortress to Georgian pleasure palace, from aristocratic home to corporate-owned attraction, Warwick Castle has reinvented itself time and again. Yet through all these changes, it has retained its power to awe and inspire. Whether you're a history enthusiast, an architecture buff, or simply someone who enjoys a good story, Warwick Castle offers something truly special, a tangible link to our past and a window into the lives of those who came before us. It stands as a reminder of the enduring power of our built heritage to connect us with our history and shape our understanding of who we are.